Hey guys, Garage here, and I got some really cool stuff in from a company called Bison gear for the GX470. I got a Molle panel, rear drop-down table, so it's going to mount to the rear door, so it actually drops down, gives you a table surface. Or with the Molle panel, you can mount and just kind of attach all kinds of stuff. My medical kit can go there, or just general bags of stuff to go out on the trail can go in there. And I also got their roof shelf, so up in the overhead, you get a big shelf system. I can put some spare tools up there. A lot of stuff that you just don't want bouncing around the bottom of the car, that stuff's going to go in really easy. This stuff looks extremely well built. I'm really happy with the choice from Bison. It's really well built. It's made in Poland. It ships from Poland. I ordered from Poland, and it was like a week and a half from the day I gave my money to that stuff all arriving. Very, very well packaged. So, yeah, shout out to Bison. I'm really impressed so far with their stuff, and it's very well built, and I got it. But yeah, so I got the roof shelf, and I got the drop-down table they're going to be putting in the GX, and I also got some recovery points from them that look really well built, too. They're really beefy. I'll show you in a minute. Yeah, I think it's going to be a really quick install. None of this looks complicated, so we're going to tear into it and get this thing done. So here's the gear that I got from them. That's the fold down table here. Again, really well built. It's got spring loaded pulls. Everything looks really, really nice. There's the overhead shelf. The shelf itself has a barrier for the front, so if you have to face that towards your driver and passenger and rear seat passenger. So if you get an accident, none of that stuff hopefully is going to break through that. That should hold. Kind of a safety thing. And there's the recovery points. Pretty beefcake, pretty simple. Very, very big, so you can get your shackles in there pretty easy. Yeah, so pretty good stuff. This was extremely affordable for what it was. What we're going to be doing here, back of the GX, we're going to be taking off this door panel. Real simple process. I'll go through how to do that. And then up here, we have to remove both of the oh shit handles up top, because that's where the roof or the rear shelf is going to mount to. So it's going to bolt up to both the sides, and it's going to go across the top here. And let me grab some tools, and we're going to get on this. All right, so let's get our little factory med kit out of here. Let's get our tool kit out of here. There we go. Memory serves, we got to pop a few of these off to get this out. I had this out before because I had to replace this net, 'cause you know how saggy, nasty these nets are. Bison does make a really cool water jetted, looks like a stainless steel or maybe aluminum panel that goes right there. Probably should have bought it, but the net's new, so I wasn't really worried about it. Rear handle's got to come out, so you got these two covers. Actually, they're not covers, they're locks. That's actually what helps secure the handle. A lot of times these break, so you may want to have these pieces on hand. You can get them on eBay or wherever, but you may want to have those on hand because those get pretty brittle. And then I'm trying to remember. Yeah, just kind of yank that with the locks out, and it comes out. Okay, what did we have next? We have a Phillips screw. So let me grab the screwdriver. All right. Now I can't remember having anything else I needed to take off. So once you get those done, I think we just pull on the door panel and it comes off. Something else. There's a lot of pop clips on this door. And there's some pop clips in this area too. That's it. All right, so we got everything mocked up. It's looking really good. This table is not made exactly for the US spec 470 or for our vehicles. It's kind of a universal that does fit the 470. There's a few little notes on here. So when I line this up, you can see the bottom of the cargo net. That line, you can see it down there. I've lined the surface of the table up exactly with the cargo net lines all along here. It's dead on. I had to bring this over. So this is a mounting arm. Now, when you do this, you can see some VHB tape here. That's what's holding it secure right now. When I did my alignment, I had to bend both of these hinge points, or these little parts that's going to attach to the vehicle. I had to bend them outwards. They were towed in a little bit. I had to bend them outwards and then make sure this lined up with this pocket perfectly. Now, I had to shift this whole door to the left to get the alignment as good as possible. This we're going to have to shave off. Not really concerned about that, or actually I could leave it. It's not hurting anything. You won't really see it with the door folded up. We won't be using that hole, but the other 4 we will. We had to shift it over because of the pocket for the factory net deal. If you look underneath here, you've got this whole piece right here. Now what we've done, when I shifted it over and put it over the top of the net piece, those holes, instead of being right on the edge of this, right on the edge of this, those holes are going to be actually in this plastic here, and hopefully the bolts are long enough. Might have to get some new hardware, but they're going to go into this part here, so I can actually bolt them on versus them being right on this edge when I lined it up the first time. And that's not going to work out because we can't get washers in there. So we're going to put the bolts through here. Now again, the door had to be shifted left. You can see I'm a lot tighter on this side, and that's all right. But now I can get all my bolts in on this side. Now when you line this up, I lined it up with the toolkit so it's completely parallel to the toolkit and made sure that's good. And you can see these little cutouts for these little spring clips so the door will lock in place. I had to test fit it several times. So once it was lined up, I had to close the door real carefully, make sure that was hitting right dead middle here. And so you got to do that on both sides. You got to make sure that wherever you've got those arms, and like I said, I had to bend my arms out because they were towed in, are going to line up and hit dead on in the middle of these, or as, as close as you can get it. So what I've got here, I've got a small drill bit. I'm going to drill my pilot holes, and then I'm going to use it's a 13/64 drill bit, which looks like it goes along just fine with the hardware that Bison sent. So we've got some washers, some nylocks, nuts, and these Allen bolts. So we're going to drill our pilots, and we're going to get this thing mounted up. This plastic's really thick. I definitely don't have any concern anymore on this table not being too heavy for the door. I was kind of had it in the back of my mind, but after seeing it or drilling through it, that's pretty thick plastic. I'm not stressing out about that. So we're going to take the tape off our door, VHB tape I had tacking it up. And kind of blow some of this off. See if we can get a little bit of, no idea what just fell. Oh. See if we can get a couple bolts in here real quick. Just to hold it on. Holes all came out really good. So everything is lined up. Got to shift the door over a little bit, but all the holes lined up spot on for where I wanted them. And I'm gonna go figure out what size socket these little guys are, and we're gonna get this thing bolted on, adjusted, and I'll be back and you'll see it get installed. So everything is mounted up. I got it bolted in just with some 1024s. I used 1/2 inch 1024s and a couple 1-inch 1024s for the other side where it's a little bit thicker due to the netting plastic underneath. But so 1 inch, you probably could get away with 3/4, and then I used 1/2 inch on the rest of it, all 1024 hardware. So those of you wondering what the backside looks like, I didn't have as big of outside diameter washers as I'd like for a couple of them because Bison didn't give me all the hardware I needed. But you can kind of see how all that mounted up. So nothing fancy. Those aren't perfect. A couple are a little canted, but that's all right. They're holding good. Plenty of bolts. All right, let's get this thing mounted up. door is a lot heavier than when I started, that's for sure. Sweet. I think we're on. And that's it. There it is. Nice and tight. There's some rubber pieces in here, right here, that have to kind of compress when you push it in. So that'll keep the door from rattling. That's nice. All right, cool. Like I said, it's not going to have a ton of weight on it. Just some place to make sandwiches or do whatever. It's not terrible. Guess I'll peel that off a little bit later. Cool. Let's go ahead and get our handle back in. There we go. Now, let's get to that shelf. Super easy install on the shelf. So we're going to start out, we're going to remove these 10mm bolts. You just pop the little covers off on each side. There's two per handle. Let's go ahead and get those all four taken down. It's almost strangely hard to get a video. It's so dark up top here, but yeah, so I went ahead and mounted this up. I didn't do this on video because once again, Bison's hardware problem struck, and the Allen bolts and the hardware that they gave me to mount it up just weren't threading right and were complete garbage. So I had to get some M6 hardware. I used M6 Allens, 16mm long. And I used the factory oh shit handle bolt. So all you did for install, this was like crazy easy, even for one person. So go ahead and you can see I used two bolts, just kind of staggered like that. But go ahead and hand tight mount the end pieces, so these hangers. Go ahead and do all of those, and then take one side, so you're gonna have it completely at an angle. Take one side up, lift it up, and then hand thread in two bolts and just have it hanging there, so it's going to be completely at angle hanging. Come to this side, lift it up, hand tighten the two oh shit handle bolts up top, and then what I did is I slid the whole shelf all the way back, far back as I could get it, and I went ahead and tightened my hardware down on the bottom, so I got all this tight with it slid down. Did this side, slid it back, tightened it, and then I used a long bit on my drill with a 10mm to tighten down the old shit handle bolts up in top here, so I went right through there. And then two up there, and that locked it in. Now what you can't see is this thing is stout. I mean, this thing, besides their hardware issues, that thing is really stout. I'm really happy with that. And you got, whatever that is measurement wise, you got about that much room to mount, put bags, you know, whatever up there. Now you do have a lip here in the front, so you got a nice lip to kind of catch things and keep things from spilling over the edge. They should be tied down on this Molle panel. And then you have a ledge in the front to keep things from shooting up forward. So if you had to slam the brakes or you hit something, hopefully nothing is going to break through that and go forward. But you should have everything tied down if it's going to be up here. And that's it. I mean, that's it for the install of the shelf. You can kind of see it there, how much room you've got. I really like that. Table's all done, and now we're going to get to the two recovery points. So one concern I had was, how much visibility is that shelf going to take up? I mean, if you hang bags off it, obviously, but I'm checking out my rear view, and that's nice because I just barely see that shelf even back there. And if I lean my head back like a normal driving position, my head just against the headrest, I don't even see it. But if I lean forward just a little bit, you can see the shelf. So it really doesn't block any field of view. You don't even know it's back there, so that's great. All right, so mounting up our recovery points, we've got to take the two lower radiator bolts out. Now you can see it right in the dead center middle of the screen, way the hell back in there. It's a 12 millimeter, you got one on each side. You've got to use a really long extension to get that 12 out. You'll probably need a magnetic extension because you're going to drop the bolt, and then you can get that out of there and you can tilt the radiator back. So I'm going to go ahead and get those two out so we can tilt the radiator back, and then I'll show you what we're doing underneath. All right, so the reason why we had to take those two radiator bolts out is because now we can push the radiator back a little bit. At least that's what they claim, or even pull it forward. I'm not sure which, but we're supposed to be able to push this back or pull it, and we can be able to get the long bolt that we've got through the top. It's actually got to come this way, and then the short bolt comes in this way, and this has a lock washer. So let's see if I can actually make that happen, what they're saying, because I'm not sure exactly if I can. We're gonna give it a shot. All right, so I figure I'd video at this point because this turned into a show that I didn't expect. It was a little bit more difficult. So turns out, so they want you to remove your two radiator bolts, as we discussed, to rock it back, but the radiator didn't go back very far. And what it turned out to be is your transmission cooler lines. You have to unbolt those, so you have to drop the lower skid plate. So I was like, cool, we got that done. I was able to tilt the radiator back. Then the inside hole is too small. You got to drill it out to a 1/2 inch so the bolt can go through. You have to be very careful because if you just go drilling straight through, you're going to drill the tank on your radiator. So I used a wrench and I pried the radiator back just like that so I didn't hit the tank. Drilled through, and I did have to unbolt the plastic fender liner because I don't have a right angle drill that's in 1/2 inch so I could get that drilled. So I had to unbolt the fender liner to get enough depth to get my drill in there. So like I said, turned into a little bit of a show, but I'm gonna pull this thing out, and now we should be able to bolt this this side up for the recovery point. Now for the next bit of trouble. So the instructions say to put a flat washer underneath there, which makes sense. But the tank for the radiator rubs against the head of the bolt, so I'm not going to be able to use a flat washer on that side. The bolt's going to have to be right up against the frame, which is fine, and then I'll be able to finish what I need over here. So that's what I ran into. Just wanted you guys to see that just don't use a flat washer next to the radiator. And that's it for the Bison gear installation. So the instructions definitely suck on this, so heed my points of removing your transmission line brackets too, so you have to drop the skid plate, and you need a 1/2 inch drill bit, and you can rock back the radiator just like I showed you. And the installation actually is pretty easy. It just took quite a while to figure out what I needed to do because I had to unpin each of the fenders and to get the drill up in there. But if you got a 1/2 inch drill bit and you rock your radiator back a little bit, it slips right in there. So that's it. Closing out this video, so I've had this in use like 6 to 8 months, something like that, and it has turned out great. Now in the video description, every single item that I have hanging on here on this Molle panel, I've linked, so if you guys want to check it out. I've had really good luck with all of it. I haven't broken any of it. I'm happy with all the products, but again, there's all kinds of products. There's a shovel, there's a saw that I use, a Silky, there's a lot of other things I have in here, a good medical kit that's worked out well, and I really like it. The table has turned out great. We've actually used it quite a few times, and nice thing is with all the Molle stuff on there, I can still fold it down and it's perfectly usable, so that works out really well. And clip it back in, and our overhead console. I've got my recovery gear up top, shackles, everything, extra rope, dog water bowl, all kinds of gear, and that's one of the best things. So when we go on a adventure, a little family outing, the dog's got plenty of room because all the gear is up top, and yeah, this stuff was well worth every penny I spent on it, and I really would recommend it. So definitely check it out and purchase whenever you can because it just takes your vehicle to the next level. Good stuff. Catch you guys later.